please hit that subscribe button. Hey everybody, better suited to win the Stanley Cup this season. If you are new to the channel, Washington Capitals, the Boston Bruins.
Locked on and he scored! And we're live.
Hey everybody, we are back for another series preview here in the 2020 NHL playoffs, and today we're going to be looking at the 3-seed Washington Capitals against the 6-seed New York Islanders in the Eastern Conference. Couple of Metro Division rivals here. This should be a really interesting series, a lot of fun to watch, and this should probably be a long series as well. I can see either of these teams winning, and I can see both of these teams giving each other fits with their style of play, physicality, and just overall how this series is going to be played. Before I fully get into it, I just ask you to please hit that subscribe button if you're new, and give this video a thumbs up if you haven't already, as those likes go a long way in helping the channel, and are very much appreciated. But let's take a look here at the Washington Capitals. They went 41-20-8 in the regular season, 90 points, good enough to win the Metropolitan Division. In the round robin, though, they stayed at the number 3 seed spot with a 1-1-1 record in the round robin, and obviously had 1 win, 1 loss, and 1 overtime loss. But overall, Washington, I think, is a team that's a heavy team built for the playoffs, very physical, definitely one of the tougher teams in the NHL, and they're a team that really, could go on a deep run this year, and especially with this break and with all this rest, and that they're pretty much hopefully going to be mostly healthy going into this series. During the regular season, they were one of the absolute best offensive teams in the league, scoring 3.42 goals per game, which was second best in the NHL. Obviously, when you have someone like Alex Ovechkin and just the offense in general that Washington has, that's not overly surprising. They were middle of the pack defensively, though, with giving up 3.07 goals against per game. Braden Holtby, as we all know, did not have a very good year this year in the regular season. We'll see how he looks now in the playoffs. But it was a tough regular season for Braden Holtby. That did not help. But overall, they weren't a great defensive team this year. They certainly relied more on their offense to go out and win them games. Despite having such a great offense, their power play was not all that spectacular this year, operating at just 19.4% on the man advantage, which was 17th in the NHL. So very middle of the road there from the Washington Capitals power play. However, their penalty kill was very good, stopping 82.6% of opponent power play chances, which was 6th in the NHL. So they have a top 10 penalty kill to make up for the lack of great power play there, at least this season. Alex Ovechkin, of course, led the team in goals this year with 48 goals on the season. Another monster year from Ovechkin, who just does not seem to slow down. Still the top goal scorer in the NHL. He was, just another incredible season for Alex Ovechkin, just putting more and more goals on the board, and he just doesn't seem to be stopping with the goal scoring anytime soon. Their leading point scorer was actually a defenseman. It was John Carlson, who had a monster season this year, by far the best in his career. 75 points on the season for John Carlson. And now, unfortunately, there's some big time question marks with Carlson's health in these early parts of these playoffs. But hopefully he can stay healthy, get back, stay healthy, and be a crucial part of this Capitals team going forward, because they really need him in the lineup if they're going to make any sort of deep run towards conference final or Stanley Cup final this year. They are not going to do that without John Carlson. He is by far their best defenseman, and they absolutely need him in the lineup. Leading penalty minute getter this year was none other than Tom Wilson. He had 93 penalty minutes on the season. Overall, Washington in general is a very tough team. I mean, obviously they have Tom Wilson, Garnet Hathaway, Radko Gudas on the back end, Brendan Dillon, another pretty tough customer. And even some of their star players, I mean, TJ Oshie is not afraid to get involved physically. Alex Ovechkin himself is a very physical power forward type. So Washington is built for big boy hockey, and that's what you have to play in the playoffs. And they can certainly handle themselves in the physicality department, and usually the ones dishing it out in the physicality department. So I'm definitely not worried about them when it comes to that. Switching over now to the New York Islanders. They went 35, 23, and 10 on the season, 80 points in the Metro Division. They are coming off a 3-1 victory over the Florida Panthers in the qualifying round. Got that one done in 4 games. Not a ton of offensive firepower here with the New York Islanders. They are much more of a defense-first team. They only scored 2.78 goals for per game this year, which was 22nd in the NHL. So definitely in the bottom part of the league as far as offense goes. Defensively, though, they only gave up 2.79 goals against per game, which was 9th in the NHL. So they are a top 10 defensive team in the league, and that does help make up for the lack of offense there. Power play is not good. 17.3% on the man advantage in the regular season, which was 24th in the NHL. That is something that they definitely need to improve on and be better at going forward. If they're ever going to make any sort of deep run this year, the power play has got to be better than 17%. And the penalty kill actually was not as good as you would expect from a team as good defensively as the Islanders are. Only killed off 80.7% of opponent power plays, which is not terrible, but it was 15th in the league, kind of very much mid-pack there. You would, I think, expect a little bit more from a team that is so defense-oriented, but their penalty kill was right in the middle of the league there at 15th, or right about the middle of the league at 15th. And that's definitely something that they could also improve on. Special teams in general is something that the Islanders could improve on going through these playoffs. If they're going to make a deep run, they could get a little bit better in both of those categories. Their leading goal scorer this year was Brock Nelson, who had a very good season, 26 goals again this year. He's been a consistent 25 plus goal guy for the last few seasons, and really has become a crucial part of that team's top 6. Their leading point scorer was, of course, Matt Barzal. He's their best offensive player, their most dynamic player. 60 points on the season for Barzal. He continues to be, one of the better young up-and-coming players in the game, and he's already the Islanders' most talented offensive player without a doubt. And their top penalty minute guy was Ross Johnston with 78 penalty minutes on the season, and he didn't even play in that many games. I think Johnston only played in 30-something games this year. He's a guy that isn't always in the lineup, but, against a very physical team like the Washington Capitals, who really like to play that style of hockey, we might see some Ross Johnston in this series, depending on how it goes and how much the physicality really picks up. They also have Matt Martin. They also have Casey Zizekas, Cal Clutterbuck. The Islanders are a team that can certainly handle themselves physically and have guys in the lineup that can do that. So, as far as a prediction on this one goes, I'm going with the Washington Capitals in this series. I'm going to say in 6 games. I think Washington is just the better team. Washington's a more consistent team. Obviously, the health of John Carlson is crucial to the Capitals being at their best. But there's just so much firepower on that Capitals team. They had a very disappointing first-round exit last year to the Carolina Hurricanes. I think they're going to kind of have a fire lit under them a little bit this season. That they're going to want to make up for that and kind of come back with a bit of a vengeance. And I don't see them going out in the first round again this year. I think the Capitals get it done. I think Ovechkin has a big series. I think Kuznetsov, Backstrom, Oshie, those guys all have big series and really lead the way. And then I also expect it to be a very, very physical series. I mean, these are two teams that, if you want to play that style of hockey, are more than happy to throw down. And especially Washington. Washington is up there as definitely one of the toughest teams in the league with the lineup that they currently have. And it's going to be a big boy series. You better keep your head up. You better be paying attention. You better get off the train tracks if you see the train coming, because between guys like Hathaway and Wilson and Dillon and Gudis on the Capitals, and guys like Cizikas and Martin and Mayfield and Clutterbuck on the Islanders, there's going to be some very big hits thrown in this series. There's going to probably be a lot of scrums in this series. We could potentially see some real, real fights and some real drop your gloves action in this series. I think these teams are going to be at each other's throats. They're division rivals, and it's going to be a very hard fought series. Either team could certainly win it. I'm going with the Capitals. I think the Caps are back with a vengeance this year, and I think Washington gets it done in 6 games. But with that, like, comment, share, subscribe, follow on social media. All those links are down in the description below. If you'd like to further support the channel, our donation link, merch store, and Patreon are in the description as well. Keep spreading the word about this channel. Let's keep this thing growing. Thank you very much for watching. Hope you enjoyed the video, and I'll talk to you guys soon.